All right, everyone, let's talk about my $500 can of Kroil that I paid for. No, I didn't just plan to buy a $500 can of Kroil. Sometimes life just happens that way. So I was having an issue with the boom, mainly with the remote control. So this function right here was not working, or it was very intermittent. It would kind of like jerk. It's the rotate, so it would makes the saw spin around, or the forks if you had the forks on there. Everything else worked fine. The rotate function worked fine from the manual controls. I did what little electrical troubleshooting I could do, checking for wires, connections, things like that. I'd pulled a couple connections, put them back on, nothing really changed. Then, so I call a dealer, or I start looking online for a dealer. I see that the closest dealer to me that's listed on Hiab's website is Drake Scruggs. They're not a Hiab, they're not listed as working on Hiab though. They're listed as a Moffett dealer. So I call them up just to see, hey, do you work on this stuff? They tell me yes. So I'm like, okay. I give him my serial number, I give him the boom model number, serial number, and I tell him my issue. Tell him, hey, everything works fine from the manual controls at the top of the boom, but my remote control's got a function that doesn't work. They tell me, okay, we will send out a tech. And they tell me that they will send out a tech on a day that he's got another job in Decatur. Drake Scruggs is just a big town over, and about an hour away. So they would just, that way I'd only pay half travel. The other customer would pay the other half travel. So they tell me, they give me a call later, say, all right, he's gonna be there on a Friday. I'm like, okay. So turns out I was the only job that day. So I'm gonna get paid, I'm gonna have to pay both ways travel. So I think their travel rate's 170 bucks an hour, which is ridiculous, but whatever. And then I think their hourly rate around here is like 180. So either way, it was what it was. I made sure I was here to talk the guy through the issue, and so I'm taking a day off work on top of this. So I might only taken a half day, so I took a half day off work. So he shows up, no schematics. He's just poking around at wiring and hoses, the same thing I did. I asked him if he's got the ability to plug in and read the codes on the controller, or read what the controller's doing. Nope. They don't have that ability. They don't have the ability to pull the schematics. They're not really that integrated with Hiab for some reason. So I was really aggravated after being told that they service this equipment. By service, they must mean change the oil, filters, minimal stuff. So needless to say, after he was here an hour, I gave him the hour because I'm like, all right, maybe you know more than I do. It turns out he didn't. He knew less about this thing. I had to show him how to run the remote and how to get it paired up, and because this remote wouldn't pair super easy at first. I don't know why, but has a little step you got to go through to get to pair. That later the Hiab guy said it shouldn't need to do that, but it does. But so I got him moving, showed him the issue, and let him troubleshoot around, because again, he's here. I've already paid the fees. After he's done, after his hour's up, I say, hey, this is it. I can do what you're doing, no offense, but so I call his service manager later, not to rag on this guy. I mean, again, I'm being charged 180 bucks an hour, and I knew that in advance. They had told me the rates. I gave him all the information. I expected him to come prepared. Schematics, at least, minimal. And basically told him that his tech showed up to a gunfight with a knife, if that, more like a stick. Completely unprepared for what he was getting into, so I sent him home, and really didn't want to pay for that because I had been reassured by the service manager that they could service this equipment and fix my issue, or at least troubleshoot it meaningfully. So they ended up, I think the bill was 580 bucks before I called. after I called, they said, oh, we'll talk to our COO or CEO, whoever, whatever. Probably a bunch of BS in my mind, but they knocked off 80 bucks, half an hour. So yeah, their hourly rate might have been 160, and I think they knocked it down, knocked half an hour of troubleshooting time off. So I still paid the full travel rate, which was 100 and something. So, and there might have been another charge in there, but at the end of the day, I think the tech felt bad for me and gave me the can of Kroil. So I got the bill down to 500 bucks from 580, and I got a can of Kroil out of it, and that was it. Other than that, it was absolutely useless service call. I will never call them again. So from there, my issue's not fixed, so I go ahead and look Hiab Direct or Hiab USA, whatever they're called. Called them up. I didn't go that route in the beginning because they're like 3 hours away, so the service fee, just the travel time, is going to be ridiculous. But I think they only charge one-way travel or a set fee beyond a certain radius. Either way, he was here a couple hours, I think, and I was here that same day too, and I think I ended up paying him about $1,000 for his time, and then the part that he replaced was about $1,100, so I ended up $2,000 in, but up and working. That guy was great. He knew what he was doing, plugged in, read the codes, troubleshot the remote a lot. He thought it was the remote at first, and I was going to have to get an upgrade kit. He did take all of these out, put them in one by one, check all the functions. This function was flaky, and when actually he got here, I couldn't get this function to work at all. And he started troubleshooting, thinking it was the remote, and then after he got done doing his thing, I kind of jumped in there and I'm like, yeah, but I can make it work. And he's like, how? You could actually, if you just crack one of the functions to where it's not hardly moving, but the remote sees it's trying to be activated, you could just crack one lever. So I could crack this lever just partially, and then I could make the rotate function work. As good as it ever worked. It would still be jerky, but it would actually do something. So at that point, he started thinking it wasn't the remote. And then he was thinking it could be a DA, a digital amplifier that runs the solenoids. So he had me, he was going to do the work, but he offered me the opportunity to go up there and swap the DAs. And he would sit down here and talk to me because he hated climbing up on the crow's nests. And I don't blame him. So I wanted the opportunity to learn. So I'm like, all right, I'll climb up there and swap this. No big deal. I get to learn. You walk me through it. He's like, sure thing. So I swapped out a DA, took the DA from the bad solenoid. I had to give it down to him, and he reprogrammed it. There's like some jumper pins. And then he said, after I gave him the second one, he had me come down. He showed me what he was doing. So that when I got the new part, I could take that old DA off that was bad and re-jumper it if that was what was going to be the case. We got the jumper set up, swapped the DAs, and sure enough, that problem with function followed that DA. So we were pretty sure it was that DA. So he said he'd order me one. He didn't have the pricing on hand. He was thinking they were 500 bucks. Turns out they're 1,100, but is what it is. So got that ordered. It arrived. I install it. We'll jump into that video here in a second. All good. So moral of the story, if you've got a Hiab, you better call Hiab. If you've got any kind of electrical or remote control type issue, these other dealers, I just don't think they can handle it. So we'll jump into the video and hope you enjoy. Okay, so what was the problem? Hopefully I have a clip that I can show you the function acting up. I'm not going to try to recreate it here. But I would link the remote, everything would work fine. This function worked, this function worked. So this is boom up and down. This is the second knuckle, tilt in and or tilt up and down, extend, rotate the rotator, and the second function on the, for this it would have been the tilt up of the forks, or for this grapple saw it is the close the grapple and all the other functions. So Either way you move this function, it was this lever right here. So when you'd move it would just kind of bounce. It would just bounce like that. Either way, it always bounced one direction. When the Hiab guy came out here, Jay, it had actually got to where none of the functions would work. It would kick the remote out or kick the link out. But if you just held this function slightly, then you could work the other functions. So the control system, he called the control guy there. He tried swapping around all of these. At first we thought it was a remote. It may still be, but we did order a part for it. We've actually gone to, we believe it is actually a DA. These DAs here, these are digital amplifiers. So you've got the control wire coming in, and then this one control runs all the DAs. And then you've got these little bridges that basically it daisies from DA to DA. So you got the top, or control comes in on the top. This DA connects over to the second DA. This DA connects over the third, or this bridge connects over the third DA. So on down the line. Whoever designed it should be kicked in the nuts, because the screws for the bridges and the DAs are directly behind the tubes. So yeah, whoever did that sucked at life. Maybe you can see Olsberg is on the inside. Olsberg on the inside, or Olsberg on the right side of this DA, right side of this DA, left, left, right, right. So that is important. If you take the DAs off, make sure you put them back on in the same direction. And then there's also some programming we're gonna have to do with this DA that it's technically moving jumper pins around. So I'm gonna get this second DA out of here. The second DA is the bad one. It was in the 5th spot. We actually took the 5th and the 2nd and swapped them. So this is, we had to reprogram them to do that. So that jumpiness followed over to this stick now. So we're pretty sure it's the DA. This DA also has a bad spot in it to where one of these hoses has actually rubbed a hole in the top of that DA, and this hose right here has a bad spot in it. So I might end up having to replace this hose. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea. You might can just see it in here. Got a bad spot right here. So let's get this DA out. Okay guys, kids sports got in the way and I'm running behind. Get these bridges off here. Carefully. Don't tighten them down too hard, the guy said, because the little plastic piece inside this DA that holds them in place can break. And apparently fairly easily. Just sort of wiggle them. Be easy. They do only go on one way. There's a little notch. That over there. Wild kids running in the neighborhood. There we go. These tubes make this a royal pain in the butt. Kind of wiggle them back and forth, and they come right out though. Alright, now let's get this DA out of here. do our programming step. I'm trying to keep my arm out of the way. These screws have seen better days. They're just full of dirt. Okay. That must not have them all the way backed out. Okay. One screw. They're long. And hard to get a hold of. If you got fat fingers, you're gonna struggle. Alright. Again, this DA comes out. Olsberg's on this side. We'll pull that cover, and that's what we'll do the programming, so to speak. Okay, hopefully you can see with the light getting dim. Got this bad spot in the top of this one where that hose literally rubbed through it. There is a little crack. I don't know if any water will come out or not. Let's pull out our new one. These little blue things are what the programming is. That one's kind of stuck in a goofy place. See if we can't pop that thing out. Definitely can't stay there. There we go. Pre-greased. New cover. With a gasket. And new bolts. Or screws with O-rings. And it even gives you an extra spare blue thing. Let's see, make sure you guys can see here. Part number 985 3383. This one actually has an older number on it too. So this thing was showing a lot of counts on the error codes. I think it couldn't really tell when the codes had been cleared last. But I think it showed 125 codes on this particular DA. 125 errors, and it only counts up to 126. So as you can see, we've got this upper left, my left. It'll be lower on your end, that jumper there, so we need to match that. So there we go, match that one. And then third up for me, 1, 2, 3, match that one. Don't force them. Little wiggle, they go right on. All right, so as you can see, they match. That is AKA the program. Let's see here. Oh, those are Torx. What are these? These are Phillips. 1 second, gotta get some Torx. Okay, so Olsberg right here, rode up. Olsberg right here. Gotta go in the same way. That's how the old one came out. Oh, that's interesting. And it pushes its way back out. A lot of grease in there. Put this new screw in there. Looks like it's a close match on threads. Running low on daylight. Okay, so got that in place. See if we can get this bridge on. Lower one, the notches are up. I think it's reversed for the upper. There we go. And the upper is, yep, notches down. The bridges don't matter. They kind of go in. They can be swapped around, no big deal. There we go. Just don't tighten them down very hard, or we will break the plastic out of the inside. Okay, I'm gonna tighten these up and go get the truck fired up so we can see if we can test this thing. Okay, remote is active. Let's undo our clamp. clamp is working. Let's see if I can't lift up just a little bit. Oh yeah. Notice how these levers are moving nice and easy. So you probably can't see. Let's put you up there. Oh yeah, everything works good. Get her up a little higher. Rotate our saw. Oh yes. I like it. Everything works good. Let's put her in the rack and call it a night. That is a success. One other kind of goofy thing on this crane is to get it to link, I have to hit the power button. It sort of cycles through, hit remote. I could do this when it's running, but it's kind of loud. And then once I hit the remote, this thing won't actually function. I actually have to hit the e-stop switch. That should link it according to the Hiab guy. And it should run, but it doesn't. I have to cycle the green button twice. That moves it over to outrigger, and then that moves it back to the control on that second cycle, and then the button or the light right under the e-stop. The light in the middle under the e-stop lights up after that second cycle. And then it functions fine. I don't know why. It's kind of an oddity with this one that even the Hiab guy didn't understand, but that's how this one works. Hopefully it helps you guys if you're having any issues with yours. Get my hand straight here. That's going to be a wrap. We are all right guys, that was successful. I am glad that is working. I was scared that I was going to be in it a control valve or an upgrade kit, which would be a whole new motherboard. Well, there was a possibility that it could have been the motherboard on the remote. So we could have been in a motherboard on this remote, or he had tried moving all the levers down, so we knew the levers were good. There is an update kit for this system that replaces that entire remote body and one of the boxes on the crane. That's like a $5,000 upgrade. I was worried it could have been that, or that entire spool block, which is another 5 or 6 grand, I think, in itself. So just being a DA, we got lucky. I haven't seen his bill yet, but I'm imagining probably $500 in service charge, another couple hundred, if not 300 for that DA or more. But a lot better than 5,000 or 6,000. These big trucks are expensive, but that's just the game we're playing in. I've got a lot of money tied up in that truck, so I've got to get it to work. So that'll be the next video you see. I've already got some video of that thing out running. I'm running the controls from the top manually in those videos, but we wanted to get that saw out and get it tested up. I do need to adjust the chain on that saw now that we've run it through a tree. It did get just a little bit loose. So I'll do a video on that as well. And like and subscribe, more to come. Thanks for watching.